Tabby is worth $4.5 billion, 15 million users, over $10 billion in annual transaction volume, and most people, including most founders in this region, still think it is a buy now, pay later company. It is not. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how Tabby actually makes money, the data moat they have built that nobody is talking about. And this is the part that matters if you are building anything in the GCC. The 3 specific types of businesses that do not survive Tabby's next phase. I'm Emilian from Solor Labs. If you are a retailer, a SaaS founder, or an investor operating in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, or Kuwait, what I am about to show you changes your competitive landscape for the next 2 years. And if you are a fintech founder building anything that touches payments in this region, you need to understand exactly what you are competing against. Because Tabby is not a payment method anymore. It is a financial operating system, and the difference between those two things is the difference between surviving 2027 and not. Let me start with how Tabby actually makes money, because this is where most people get it wrong. Tabby does not charge consumers interest when they pay on time. 0. That is the headline everyone sees. So people assume it is losing money on every transaction. Here is the reality. Tabby charges merchants approximately 3 to 4% on every transaction. When a customer uses Tabby to split a purchase at Adidas or IKEA or Amazon, the merchant pays Tabby a fee. Why would the merchant agree to that? Because Tabby increases their conversion rate. When you give a customer the option to split a payment, basket sizes go up, checkout completion goes up, and repeat purchases go up. Tabby now works with over 40,000 brands and merchants. That includes Amazon, Samsung, Shein, H&M, IKEA, Noon, and 7 of the 10 largest retail groups in the entire GCC. But here is where it gets much more interesting. In the last 18 months, Tabby launched 5 new products. Tabby Card, a Visa card that works anywhere, not just partner stores. Tabby Plus, a subscription rewards program. Tabby Shop, a deal discovery platform. Tabby Care, buyer protection. And they acquired Tweak, a Saudi digital wallet that handles peer-to-peer transfers, salary disbursement, and stored value accounts. This is not a BNPL company adding features. This is a financial ecosystem being built from the checkout up. And the fuel that powers all of it is data. Every transaction, every purchase, every payment pattern, every spending behavior across 15 million users. Tabby is aggregating the single largest consumer financial dataset in the Middle East. And that dataset compounds. Every new merchant, every new product, every new user makes the entire system more valuable. This is what I mean when I say Tabby is not a payments company. It is a data company that happens to process payments. Now let me show you why this matters for anyone building a business in the GCC, using a framework I call the Embedded Finance Displacement Model. Here is how it works. In any market, there are 3 layers of financial infrastructure. Layer 1, the payment rail, how money moves. Layer 2, the customer relationship, who owns the trust. Layer 3, the data layer. Who knows what the customer actually wants? Traditional banks own Layer 1, retailers owned Layer 2, and until recently, nobody owned Layer 3 at scale in the Middle East. Tabby now owns all 3. They process the payment. They sit between the customer and the merchant at the moment of purchase. And they collect every data point about what that customer buys, when they buy, how they pay, and whether they come back. And here is why that creates a moat. Nearly 2 out of 3 adults in Saudi Arabia are already registered on Tabby. That number was confirmed by Tabby's own general manager when they announced the Shabanda partnership in February, bringing BNPL to 20,000 additional online stores. So, when 2/3 of your target market is already in someone else's ecosystem, you are not competing with Tabby. You are competing for the attention of Tabby's users. Now here are the 3 business models that do not survive Tabby's next phase. And this is where I'm going to disagree with most analysts. Number 1. Traditional retail credit. When customers can split any purchase interest-free through Tabby, your store credit card becomes invisible. I have spoken to retailers in Dubai who tell me their private label card usage has dropped by double digits since Tabby integrated at checkout. That trend accelerates. Number 2. Loyalty programs that do not connect to purchasing power. If your loyalty points cannot convert into real buying capability inside a checkout flow, they are noise. Tabby Plus already offers cashback and rewards. They are eating this from below. Number 3. And this is the one most founders miss. Any SaaS platform targeting Gulf SMEs that ignores embedded payments. When Tabby partners with Shabanda and gives 20,000 online stores instant access to BNPL, that is your potential customer base getting a payments layer you did not offer. If you sell tools to merchants and you do not have a payments integration strategy, you are one partnership announcement away from irrelevance. But here is my contrarian take that nobody is saying. Tabby's biggest risk is not competition from Tamara or the banks. It is the IPO itself. Tabby appointed HSBC, JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley to advise on a public listing. They are reportedly targeting the Saudi exchange, the Tadawul. If the IPO happens in 2026, Tabby will suddenly face quarterly earnings pressure, public scrutiny of default rates, and the expectation of profitability that private markets forgive, but public markets do not. The question is not whether Tabby is dominant. It is whether a company built for growth can transition to a company valued for margin, while maintaining the aggressive product velocity that made it dominant. So if you are a founder or business operator in the GCC watching this, here is exactly what I would do. First, if you are a retailer or e-commerce business, integrate with Tabby's API now. Being inside that checkout flow is not a concession, it is a survival move. The switching cost you build by being in the Tabby ecosystem in 2026 is what protects you in 2028. Second, build around what Tabby does not know. Tabby owns the transaction moment. They know what people buy and how they pay. What they do not know is post-purchase behavior, customer lifetime loyalty signals, product satisfaction, service quality. If your business generates data that Tabby does not have, that is your moat. Third, if you are a fintech founder, study Tabby's partnership model. They did not build everything themselves. They acquired Tweak for digital wallets. They partnered with Shabanda for SME distribution. They work with Checkout.com and MoneyHash for payment orchestration. The lesson is clear. Build the piece Tabby needs, and you become part of the ecosystem instead of competing against it. And fourth, if you are an investor evaluating GCC Fintech, watch the IPO timeline. If Tabby lists successfully on the Tadawul, it validates the entire GCC Fintech thesis. If it delays or reprices downward, it signals that the gap between private and public market expectations in this region is wider than anyone admits. Go to solorstream.ai and run the financial health analysis on your own business. It is designed to catch exactly these kinds of structural risks before they compound. One question for you, and I mean this seriously. If you are running a business in the UAE or Saudi Arabia, has Tabby changed how your customers pay? Has it affected your checkout conversion? Your repeat purchase rate? Drop your answer in the comments. Not for me, for the founder watching this who needs to hear that they are not alone. Next week, I'm going through the financials of 50 GCC startups. 31 of them share the exact same fatal pattern. The pattern has nothing to do with the product or the team. And when you see what it is, you will check your own business the same day. Build systems, not dreams.